Chris Lopez here with DenverInvestmentRealEstate.com, and we're going to talk about finding investment property in the Denver metro area. And I'm sitting here with Charles Roberts, who is probably the best person to talk to when it comes to this. So he's the president of Your Castle Real Estate. He's helped investor clients close over 400 deals. He owns 15 properties himself, and he's been an agent for over 12 years. So Charles, people watching this video are thinking to themselves, okay, I want to buy property. Where do I start? So enlighten us.
Sure. Well, the first thing I ask is, have you bought property before? What's your experience? So let's do a role play. Let me ask you that question. Do you have any experience owning investment property?
No, I don't. I want to get into it, though.
Okay, great. Then this is a good start. So the way I look at it is this. It's not about reading a book and understanding everything about real estate. It's not a binary black and white. There's lots and lots of shades of gray. So when I talk to someone in this situation, I just want to have a conversation. I want to sit down for an hour and just say, hey, what are you looking to do? What are your plans? Are you trying to make fast money? Are you trying to make slow money? What do you bring to the table? Do you have any money? Are you able to buy? So specifically, I would say something like, okay, have you been pre-qualified yet? Can you actually buy a property? That would be the first obvious question. And you might say yes or no. Let's say yes, I've been pre-qualified.
So let me interrupt you here. So before someone talks to you, should they go ahead and be pre-qualified before they even talk to you, or should they talk to you first, kind of get the game plan? Really go to the basics here.
Yeah, that's a good question. So I could go either way on it. I was an investor for 7 years before I even became an agent. I only became an agent to be a better investor. And what I found was, I had kind of brought a lot to being an agent because I had been an investor. So while typically an agent would say, I don't want to talk to anybody who hasn't been pre-qualified yet, I don't quite see it that way. I think having a good discussion begins it. So sure, if someone's pre-qualified and ready to go, that's awesome. But if they're really just sort of struggling with where to go next, I say, great, let's just chat about this. Let me tell you the importance of being qualified and what you might have to do to get there. So I could go either way on that.
Okay. So that's continuing the conversation as you sit down with someone, kind of like what's the next step, the next questions you go through.
Right. So I'm asking basically, what are you looking to do? So maybe I would look at you and you might say to me, I'm 35 years old and I've got 2 little kids and I'm looking to put my kids through college someday. I would say, great. That's actually a very, very, that's a good background. That's a good plan. Long-term wealth building with real estate makes a lot of sense. So I would ask you things like, what's your risk tolerance? Do you have some money to put into real estate for the long period of time? So if you were to say, look, I've got a job, I've been pre-qualified, I'd like to own some property to put my kids through college, then it really comes down to, great, let's actually start talking about what the returns are on real estate. What are the pros and the cons? If you don't want to ever get hassled by a tenant and you don't want to have any risk, then go buy a bond. There's nothing wrong with a US T-bill, except you're going to make 2% for the rest of your life. If you actually want to take some of your money and potentially put it in something that is going to be much, much, much more lucrative, but actually take some work, real estate could make sense. And from there, we just begin talking about what types of real estate would make sense. What do you want to do with it? How long do you want to hold it? How many properties do you want to buy? How often do you want to buy properties? And on and on and on. So
you really get into like the personal level depending on what the person's situation and their goals are, right?
And what's interesting is that truly, people are different. There's some commonality, but some people might say, I live in the north part of town. I only want something up there. Great. And that sort of directs us on what we want to do. Another person might say, I'm really handy. I want to bring value to properties and I've got some time to do it. Awesome. That's terrific. Maybe a third person would say, I can't screw in a light bulb, Charles. I don't know if I should buy real estate. Can I buy real estate? And I might say, well, we have something in common because I can't screw in a light bulb either, but I've been doing this for 20 years. Yes, you can. And here's how you might do it. So the most important thing is to have lots of questions and to sit down and to talk with someone who's been through it, who's done the good and the bad. One of the jokes I always make with my clients is, look, I've made all the mistakes in the book. So you don't get to make the same mistakes I made. Go make your own mistakes, okay? But what we're going to do is talk about the things that I've done wrong, the things that I've seen people do wrong, and try to make it as seamless a process as possible.
Okay. And so while I took a few notes down while you were talking, so it sounds like, you can't give exact advice over video since it's impersonal, but I'm guessing to get the most out of the conversation for both you and the potential investor would be to come down with a list of questions written, their goals, and maybe like a snapshot of their current just financial situation? Like, I mean, should people have like know their credit score, how much money they have set aside? Like what level of detail helps you get the most out of that initial consultation?
Yeah. The more the better, without question. But again, it runs the gamut. So the more you've thought about the questions you want to ask, the more you know about your background, the more you know if you've been pre-qualified and have a plan, I would say the better. But at the same time, someone listening to this might say, God, I know it's the right thing to do. I don't know where to start. That's okay. That's okay. That's why you want to reach out to someone to begin formulating a plan. What I would say is be careful about, going to all the workshops and the seminars and the gurus and the books. There is something to be gained from them, but you spend 3 years doing that and don't actually buy something, you've lost 3 years of potentially wealth building appreciation. Start talking to people who are actually doing this. Maybe joining a local investor group, reaching out to someone like me or you, Chris, or someone else, and begin having a real conversation. But don't worry about not having all the answers. The whole point is you're trying to talk to someone who knows a little bit more about this subject than you do.
Great. So it sounds like the best next step for someone would be either to get in touch with us. You can go to denverinvestmentrealestate.com/consult. We've also got a lot of courses and even a book that you authored on the book as well, just more education. But to wrap up, as Charles said, you got any questions, one of the best starting points is to reach out to someone who has knowledge, and we are more than happy to have that conversation.
Great. Thanks very much.